some of the folks here that are birders have, they've been birding here in Ottawa County even for a very long time, or other places. They've traveled around the world. They have lots of expertise, and we'll talk about how we can utilize them in our birding knowledge, because that's mainly how I have become a better birder, is by birding with people who are better birders. So my name is Cindy Dobres, and I'll get to a little bit more introduction in a minute. I said in the program we'd talk about birding versus bird watching. I'm going to use the terms probably interchangeably because I'll forget to use one or the other. Bird watching has a more passive aspect to it. You've got a feeder in your yard, or when you're out someplace, you take a picture. You're on vacation, you see a cool bird, and you take a picture, and you email or text it to your friend who you want to ID it for you. The more birding you do, the more of those texts and emails will come into your box. And I personally love that because then I get to bird in other places vicariously. And then birding, or being a birder, has a more active connotation. So when you are supposed to be doing something that you really need to get done, like working on your program for tonight, and an alert comes in that there's a black-necked stilt, that it's only the second time perhaps it's been seen in the county and you haven't seen it in the state, you go chase it. That's being a bird. Okay? So that's a little bit. And why do either one? Or why try to take your bird watching, kick it up a notch? There's so many benefits. So obviously you're going to get outside and enjoy nature. You're going to get some exercise, but I will warn you, I got better cardio before I became a birder because I took fast walks, listened to audio books, and I was trucking along. And now I've got binoculars and I'm listening for bird songs, so I'm not listening to any music or books, and I'm stopping every 3 feet and standing. So I get out, I get exercise, but I wouldn't call it quality exercise. However, the research is showing that stress reduction is a big part of birding. And there have been a lot, if you just Google that, you'll get a whole lot of research that's been coming out that people who are anxious, if they go outside and or even pipe in bird song, listening to birds sing reduces your stress. Unless, I have to add, it's a flock of starlings that are tearing apart your tiki bar thatch on your tiki bar, which is happening at my house right now because they're building nests with the thatch, and they're tearing apart the whole top. That's not your stress. So, mental stimulation. I was a school librarian, and I loved the aspect, and still do, of going out birding and then coming home and trying to figure out what the heck it was I saw, right? I have this memory, I maybe have a photo, or I have some notes, and I go home and I try to figure it out. I love the research, and I love reading more about birds, and we'll talk more about that later. I've got some great resources for you. You make new friends. A lot of people in this room have become friends of mine through birding, and I cherish them. And then lists. Did we mention lists already? I love making lists. I'm one of those people who makes a to-do list, and I'll add things that I just did so I can have to avoid after I've done it. So anyway, birding provides you something. It's not just a spring or summer activity. It's something to do all year long. You guys that are just perhaps starting, I hope, get motivated today to start a more active birding journey, are doing it at the best time of the year. May is my spring migration. The warblers come. Now you'll get neck strains from looking up at them, and your head will do this, trying to follow them as they dart around because they are fast. But the joys that are there and the colors are just amazing with the birds coming in. And then summer, things slow down a bit, and the birds aren't as vocal because they're not trying to attract a mate. And they're raising young, or they're kind of just chilling, and so it's a little slower time, and there's lots of leaves and you can't see them as easily in the trees. But then and we go into fall with more migration, birds coming back to us or going from us down to parts very far south. And then we have weird duck time, and we're just kind of ending that. But if you haven't seen, there's a picture later on of a northern shoveler, and there's some really weird, interesting looking ducks for you to come. Now, obsessions. How many of you that are avid birders have a spark bird? A bird that you really love that made you want to start birding? Even the non-avid. How about a spark event? Something that happened that made you want to be a bird. Yeah, okay, so some of those things happen. What's your spark bird?
I don't know, but he's living in the birdhouse that we have.
Okay, we're going to figure that out for you. As a matter of fact, for you, who are concerned about IDing, I have a poster, and it has wonderful chart of all the birds. And you're going to paste that up and be able to identify them. Okay. All right. So for me, we moved here to Grand Haven in 1988, and the next spring, my next door neighbor said, "It's time to put the oranges out," and I didn't know what he was talking about, and so he soon schooled me, and I put out oranges on my deck, and within a few days, orioles started showing up. This is the Baltimore oriole. It is mostly found in the east side of the country. I just saw my first hooded oriole in Mexico in January, which was exciting for me. Love orioles, love watching them. To me, this is a sign of spring. It's not a robin in my yard. It is the orioles coming back to the oranges. So that was kind of a spark bird for me. But I didn't really do anything with that. I didn't become an avid bird. Just every spring I'd put those out. I had some bird feeders. I was more of a bird watcher. And then in 2019, my husband and I, Richard and I, were supposed to go to Dominican Republic with our neighbors for spring break. I was still working in the school library at that point. I was still a librarian. And in February that year, I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I had to have surgery. And all of a sudden, plans had to change because I wasn't allowed to go in bodies of water for spring break. There was no way I could go and look at the beach and the Caribbean and the Dominican and not be able to go in that water, because as much as I love birds, I love being in the water. So plans changed. Where could we go and change our plans and not be near water? Well, let's go to Tucson. So I spent nope, not gonna do that. I spent most of my childhood in between Phoenix and Superstition Mountains at my grandmother's house in Apache Junction, out and looking at those beautiful mountains. But we really didn't come down to Tucson very often. We were up in this area whenever we would visit. And we'd driven across the country, so we didn't drive another couple hours once we got there. So Rich and I went to Tucson, and we ended up going, I wanted to see the Saguaro National Parks. So we went out to the park, and we happened to luck into a bird hike, or well, not really a bird hike, a ranger hike at the park, taking us around and showing us stuff. And I was excited about watching all the birds because a friend of mine had told every year she'd talk about making her year list of birds. And I was like, yeah, I need another thing to do, like another hobby, another thing to do, like I need a whole head. But those of you who know me well know I love getting new hobbies. So I decide if I'm going to be in Arizona, that's a perfect time to start a life list, because I'll be seeing birds I may not see again for a few years. So I'm writing stuff down and asking the guide everything I can about every bird we see. What is it? What is it? What is it? And because I had no idea what I was seeing, except for the birds I knew from my grandmother's backyard as a kid. So he said, well, if you're getting into birding, you need to go to Madeira Canyon. Little did I know, this is like a top hot spot great spot for birders to go. People make whole trips just to go there and stay at the Santa Rita Lodge and look at the hummingbirds and whatever. So I looked at my husband and said, post-surgery, and said, can we go to Madeira Canyon? And he's like, oh, yes, we can go there. And so, of course, we needed binoculars because I didn't have any, and we couldn't go down there and be around all these birds. So we went to a Dick's Sporting Goods and we bought a pair of binoculars. These are not those binoculars because I ruined those on a whale watching trip in Maine, and Vortex replaced them free of charge because they have wonderful warnings. So while I'm not a Vortex sponsor, I will tell you that is my brand that I will stick with for a while. Until I can afford something better, but no. Sorry, honey. So we go to Madeira Canyon, and the funny story that I have that the experienced birders will appreciate is that there had been a report of an elegant trogon there, and the guide had told me about that at the Saguaro National Park and said, it doesn't come any farther north than Madeira Canyon. So if you want to see this bird, that's where you have. So we're like, we got to see the alligator. I didn't know what one was, didn't know what it looked like. I went and we went to the Saguaro National Park West, and I bought a Sibley's or a Stokes West guide because it was the only one they had in the shop. And I bought it so that I could identify the birds I was now going to try to find and see. So we go down there and we go into a little clearing. This is not my photo, obviously. But we go into this little clearing where it had last been sighted. And we're sitting on a rock, this big boulder, and we're sitting there looking and listening and being quiet like you should do when you bird, especially when you're looking for a rare bird. And Rich says, there's a flash of red up there. And I try to get my binoculars on it. It goes darting off because into the clearing stomps two women who go, "We want to see that bird." And my husband, who sometimes is as outspoken as I am, said, "Well, you might have if you would have been quiet." Anyway, we didn't see the trogon. We saw lots of other birds, and I've seen other trogons now in Costa Rica and Panama, but I still haven't seen the elegant trogon. So someday, maybe. So then we come back home. I started my life list. I'm a birder. I've got a list, and I'm like, okay, let's Ottawa County. It's the beginning of April. Migration really hasn't started yet. I was at Harbor Island, and there's a little bridge there that goes over to where the fisherman's parking lot is at the Star Linear Park. And I see this bird, and the artist in me is like, look at it. He's got the same colors as the aggregate in the concrete. He's got the brown, and the black, and the gray, and the tan. And I'm thinking, this is a beautiful photo. Like, look at me. I am Ansel Adams. And I'm like, what is that? I had no idea what that was. What a beautiful bird. Well, then, I definitely needed help. I needed help for identifying birds and to learn that a house sparrow is invasive. It's been in the country because some idiot that came from Europe decided to bring the starlings and the house sparrows and other species, anything that had been mentioned in Shakespeare's literature, in his plays and his poems, and bring them to New York City so that they would all be there. And since then, these little guys have taken over. If you live in the city, if you have a barn, you have house sparrows, and they are not really friendly with other birds, and they take things over. And but I thought he was gorgeous. I had seen a black-burning warbler. So before I go too much farther, I want to tell you you should have, or there are some in the back or up here. I created a resource list as promised in the thing with some free apps, some websites, some books, and some magazines that are particularly good for beginners. There's lots of other resources available, of course. And I wanted you to know this up front, so as I go through and talk about them, you don't feel like you have to take notes and write down things. You should have the websites or the titles of books. And if I mentioned something like I forgot to put audubon.org on the list, which is like the mother of all, the father of all urban resources, I guess. I didn't put Audubon on there, so you may want to jump them down. But these are some of the essential tools that really helped me in the 7 years that I've been birding. I also have just 6 or 7 copies of the Ottawa County Parks Park Guide, because I made it a mission when I started birding to go try to see the parks. And I haven't gotten to all of them yet because some are really good for birds and I never get on the list farther. But and there's a few in the back, but my first mission for you, if you want to take up birding, is to go get one of these maps, go to the Nature Center at Hemlock Park and Hemlock Crossings, and pick up a map and start going to those parks. And because that's going to be a great place for you to see lots of the species and find good hotspots for birds. So field guides. These look very similar. One is by David Sibley, one is by Donald and Lillian Stokes. The main difference between them, and there are others differences, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that tonight, but David Sibley's, he has done illustrations, wonderful paintings, very detailed looks at different parts of the bird, comparing some of the parts of the bird like Carl was doing to us beforehand. We're not going to go into the differences between the sloping bill and the straight bill in my talk tonight, but this is a great resource and has the illustrations. Stokes guides have photographs, and I brought both of my books with me tonight, so you're welcome to come up later and take a look through them. The National Geographic has also just published a new edition of theirs, which is fabulous. Doesn't look worn yet because I've just gotten it and I use my similes more. And then the Bible for Local Birders is written by Chip Frankie, who used to be the naturalist at the Ottawa County Parks, and our still resident local birders, Judy and Carl Manning. They put together this book. It published in 2015. They've done an update in 2020 that's available online. You can go to the website and print out an update. And this book is full of incredible resources. So if you look up, you can look up a park that's near you, and they will tell you about it, what the habitat is in that park, what the species that you will see there, some of the great features of it. They have information, they have websites and information about different county parks, different audubon groups. I only put OIAS on our handout for space, but they list the Muskegon County Nature Club, they list the Holland Audubon and the Kent County Audubon or Grand Rapids Club. They also have in the back a fabulous checklist so you can keep track of the birds that you have personally seen in Ottawa County and check them off. And it also contains bar charts that show you when it's most likely to see that bird in our county. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, like a Cape May warbler, you need to wait a few weeks maybe, or a few days. But a yellow warbler, those are arriving and those are going to be here in numbers and they've already been seen. So do not skip that one. First I would buy a regular field guide with all the birds, like the Sibley or the Stokes. But then, if you're birding a lot in Ottawa County, I would have that book. So essential equipment. Basically, you don't need a whole lot to go birding. My husband thinks it's the cheapest hobby that I've ever had.
Wait, she's
I
not
scale building and finances in the house, so he has no idea. But you really don't need a lot. If you want to have a feeder in your yard, you can. My neighbor just took hers out because she had some ground squirrels and things that were getting into it. She didn't want the animals coming around. But most, you don't even have to have a feeder. We'll talk about those in a minute. In the field, when you're going out hiking, it's just sensible stuff for outdoors. You need bug spray and sunscreen. You need protective shoes and clothes. I don't go full on for the ticks, but a lot of people do. Socks over the bottom of your pants, that whole thing, especially when ticks are really prevalent, but I definitely check when I get home for them. You want a small notebook or a smartphone or a bird guide, at least the guide at home so that you can look things up, but keep one in your car if you can, if you're out going around, and a pair of binoculars. And if you're on a new trail, take a photo of the park map before you start walking. How do you know? Well, this is almost embarrassing, but I go to Stearns Park a lot, but they added a whole new loop on in the back a couple of years ago. And I was out there and my daughter called, who likes to talk. I don't know where she got that from. And we're talking on the phone and she had told me some sad news. And so I was just listening to her and talking, and I realized I'd gone around this loop a couple of times. I was seeing things again, but I had no idea where I was. Like, it was the new loop and I didn't know where it got off. I didn't know how I was going around again and again. So, but I always do that if I go to a place where especially if it's out of the county and I don't know the park, I take a picture of the map before I start. So I did use my GPS that day to get back to the parking lot. Anyway, so bird food. If you're only going to buy one thing, buy black oiled sunflower seed. It comes with shells on it, or it comes deshelled bear. You can get it in chips or in whole pieces. This you're paying less for, but you're also paying for the weight of the shells. And you have the mess underneath your feeder of the black shells underneath. The plain stuff you can get at De Bruyn's in Zeeland in bulk and other places. You can get it in little bags at Meijer, but you're going to pay for it. So this will feed the majority of the birds that you want to feed. The Niger seed, which some people have called thistle, it's not thistle, but it's Niger seed. That has a lot of oil in it. It's really good to provide fat for the really small birds like finches. And they will come, it takes a different kind of feeder, and they will come eat that. They don't like it once it gets stale, so you want to replenish it. Maybe you fill your feeder only half full if you don't have a lot of birds coming, and then refill it frequently so that it's not stale and the oil is gone. And then fruit, oranges and grapes I put on there. That photo for this Baltimore Oriole has some grape jelly in the feeder. They particularly love that even more than the oranges. But I know purists who don't want you to feed, just feed them the fruit instead. If you do go the jelly route, and I do, sometimes I put it in the bare orange too. I have oranges out, and then I fill them with grape jelly. Get the kind that don't get anything that is added preserves, don't get jammed. It's got to be clear. It's got to be grape jelly, and don't do the diet stuff. They need the sugar for the energy. They've come a long way from Central and South America to get to us. And then in terms of feeders, you could be as simple as a toilet paper tube covered with peanut butter, rolled in some bird seed. And I didn't mention it, but this mixed seed is problematic, especially if you're a beginner, to know what the good stuff is, and you have to pay dearly for that. A lot of the lesser, cheaper ones have seed in it that is not preferred by the birds, and it will just lay on the ground and is not particularly great. There are ones that are good to use, but and then a feeder with big enough holes that the black oil sunflower seed can go in. There's houses with platforms. There's all kinds of things. There's open platform feeders. Some birds like to feed on that. Instead of being clinging to the side of a cage or a little perch, they want a bigger place to stand. But there are a variety of feeders. The Niger seed I mentioned can go in a tube like this that has narrower fencing on it, narrower holes, or they sell them little socks that you can fill it. It comes with the seed in it, and then you can also refill it until it kind of falls apart. But they'll eat it right through the holes in that sock. It's not a sock you wear on your foot, by the way. It's got to have holes in it. And this is I didn't talk about nectar on the last page in terms of feeding birds, but hummingbirds are coming. They've gotten to Michigan, so if you have a hummingbird feeder, get it out there. It's 1 part sugar to 4 parts water. Don't add red food coloring. The birds don't need it. It should be red parts somewhere on your feeder that attracts them, but the dye they don't need, and it can be harmful. So clear stuff. And you can get fancy. Well, I don't have one of these, but you can. Some of you, how many of you have a feeder that has a camera on it that you can watch it on your phone and see it? Yeah, awesome. They are fun. I don't have one, so I'm not going to make a recommendation as to the ones to get. And then there's all these feeders that talk about squirrel proof. So. Sorry, Roger, but the bird feeder's empty. Or, look at me, I'm the human, stay away from my bird feeder. You're eating all the birds, and blah, 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 blah. That's what the squirrels think of your squirrel-proof feeders. There are squirrel-resistance ones that can be fun, that can be helpful, but a baffle, either a cone, a big tube or a cone that goes underneath, attaches to the pole underneath your feeder. Should put a picture of that. But that is the best way. But if you're 5 feet from a tree branch, they're going to climb the tree and jump onto your feeder. And if you look at YouTube, you can watch videos all night of squirrels going through mazes and doing stuff, and they'll find a way into any feeder. Best way to avoid them, as Curtis Dykstra, our county parks program, naturalist says is to put some feed on the ground. So I usually scatter, some of the feed on the ground and let them get it easier and leave it off the feeders for the birds. I mentioned this already. This is what I use. There's lots of different choices, but for $250, these are great. They 8x42 or 8x40 is I maybe preferred, but this was what was in the store when we were in Arizona, and I needed binoculars then. There may be other brands that are cheaper that work very fine as well. But a lot of the folks that I bird with have these. Some people have Zeiss or Swarovski and other higher end brands. But for a beginner, this would be a great purchase if you can spend that money. Cheaper than my other hobbies. So once you have your binoculars, or even if you don't, you can observe a lot by just watching. Learn to look at the details of the bird. Now, earlier when Carl was showing pictures, we were getting into some fine details on, I'm not going to talk about subspecies of juncos, dark-eyed juncos this morning. I think it'd be great to know that this bird with a little pink bill and black and white is a junco at all, let alone which kind it is. But start to look at the birds if you want to learn them as a beginning birder. Look at the face and the bill. So we've got a blue jay on the left, an eastern bluebird on the right. They both have bright blue backs. If you see just a flash going through the woods, that may be all you get. So in order to ID it, if you're trying to do a checklist of what you saw that day, it's helpful if you can see that you saw the longer tail on the blue jay, or you saw the black and white face, or whatever the size of the birds. The blue jay is going to be bigger. So looking at some of these specific things that identify the birds is important to start to get to. Instead of just trying to look at the whole bird, start by just looking at the face of the bird you're trying to identify, perhaps. And that will tell you a lot. I asked the people what they suggested. I tell folks this, and a lot of them say, leave your camera at home when you're just beginning birding. It's hard to get birds move. They have feathers, they fly, they have wings, and to get focused and get on them when you're first learning to bird, you're going to miss a lot of birds trying to get your camera focused on them. Even getting your binoculars on them, the tip from Curtis again that I've learned a lot from is look at the bird, pick up your binoculars, stay focused on the bird, lift your binoculars where you're looking. Don't look down don't say, oh, I got to see that bird, and then look at this, and then you're trying to find it again. So you look and bring the binoculars to you. And then watch it and enjoy it after you've looked at, whether you've identified it or not. Do you enjoy the birds you see, whether you know what they are or not?
Yeah, except for this one that kind of like tried to hit me or something.
Oh, I'd be a red black one. My husband used to have to mow the lawn with a tennis racket he sent me as a kid. Doesn't do that anymore. But so look at them and enjoy them. Watch them if they're playing in a bird bath, or if they are in a pond, or they are feeding young, or when you see a male cardinal feed the female cardinal and put the food in her mouth because he's being so, watch them and enjoy the behavior. That to me is now I love, my friends are cracking up over there. I'm like, okay.
I said French feed you sometimes I went.
He cooks dinner every night. Doesn't usually Robbie. He's the chef. So now I'm totally lost. This could be a great video on YouTube. It's wonderful. Enjoy birds. Enjoy them. So, what else we got? Don't forget to look up and look down. A lot of the birds are going to be at your eye level or in the trees around you, but look up and see the sandhill cranes that are flying around right now. They're the birds that everybody says sound like pterodactyls, which I agree, but it makes me curious, like how many of us know what a pterodactyl sounded like? They were gone before I was born. And look down. Pileated woodpeckers are usually up higher in a tree or pounding on the side of a tree, or flying with a distinctive flight wingspan. But I found this one chomping away at bugs in a rotting log along a trail one day. And I sat and watched him for quite a while. It was really fun to see him. I might have missed him if I had been just looking at eye level. So look both directions. So if you want to challenge yourself, if you're having trouble with a particular kind of bird, don't start with sparrows, for God's sake. Don't start with sparrows. Or quivers. They're all gray, yellow, and white, and a little black. So don't start with those. But pick a category. There's a scientific term, category, an order, a family, and try to find some similarities and differences. One of the things that people report wrong on checklists is they list red-headed woodpeckers when they probably often mean red-bellied woodpecker. And I get it, because can you see a red belly on that guy? It's real. I've seen it a few times, but you usually don't see it. It's a little blush of pink on your belly. It's arguably one of the worst named woodpeckers. This guy, you can't mistake. It looks like somebody took a bird and dunked him upside down in a pail of red paint. So he is going to be a red-headed. His whole head is red if he's an adult. And so look at that. Look at the difference between a hairy and a downy. The size, the length of the bill compared to the head, the width of the head and the length of the bill compared to this short bill and a smaller head. The size is a little different. And then you can't really mistake a pileated, except for the people who keep reporting to the ivory-billed woodpecker Facebook page. I've got three of them in my backyard. But try to just look at a whole family of birds and get to know them differently. Or get to learn the differences between them. Okay, so some of the apps. Merlin. Probably this comes from Cornell University, from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, as does eBird, the next app I'm going to talk about. But this has probably helped new birders more than any other app. It's also provided more false data in eBird, perhaps, than any other app. So we're going to talk about why to use it and what it's helpful for quickly here. 25 minutes, going good. So Merlin app, the app logo looks like this. When you open it, you get three choices: step-by-step, sound, and photo. The photo one is really simple. You can either take a photo right then, or you can upload a photo that you've already taken, or that somebody has emailed from you to you and says, can you help me identify this? So that we're not really going to talk about. The photo one's pretty straightforward. The sound one, you click that green button, and it will bring up this page. It'll be blank at first, and a spectrograph of the bird sounds is going to go across here. Or when you cough, or a car goes by, or an airplane bombs you. But you will see the bird, you'll see the sounds laid out in a spectrograph. And that's how the Merlin app works to give you an identification of the birds you're seeing. So it'll start tracking. This was my yard last night, because I procrastinate, was still working on the PowerPoint. And these were all things that were popping up. At the time that I did the screenshot, a red-winged blackbird was singing and a robin was singing. And so the yellow highlight shows you what's singing right now. So what is great for me as a new birder about this app is when I first started birding, I sat out on my deck at night. I turned on the Merlin Sound ID and I watched that. And I said, that's a robin. Wait a minute, that's a robin too? Because they and the titmouse make like a million different sounds. So I listened to it. And if I was lucky, I would see the bird singing, because that is the best way to recognize a sound, is to watch the bird actually make it and hear it at the same time. Like you're getting all the senses together. Your brain likes that. So I can use this. Now, do I know for sure that those were those birds at the very beginning? No. So I would have to, if it was something that, is that really a robin? I would have to go to the bottom where it does explore, and I could click and I could search for robin, and I could listen to the robin call, and they had all the different calls in there. I could listen to them and say, yes, that matches what I'm hearing out in my yard. Yes, I have a robin. Now that's a pretty easy one. But when you are sitting in your yard and it tells you you have an ivory-billed woodpecker, which is extinct, or no, some crazy bird that is coming up as rare and doesn't exist in your habitat, then you don't list it and report it as being seen in your yard unless you know that you've seen it. But as a learning tool, this is fabulous. There's more to say about that. There's a whole, I've given you a link on the handout to go read about Merlin and how to use it. Merlin is a guide to learning. It is not the answer. And we've been seeing a lot of eBird reports, which we're going to talk about eBird in a couple minutes, of people seeing things in their yard that just don't go to that kind of habitat. And they're putting their phone on their deck like I did, and then they are listing every single thing. Some of it is not good data. It's not helping. Using these apps and submitting data is citizen science. I love that part of it, that I can help these people in Ithaca, New York, take this data and learn about what's happening with birds and bird populations, which are declining significantly in our country, and I can help with that. But it doesn't help them to have tons of false data. So please be careful on that. I don't want to discourage you from making checklists, but I want you to understand that there is a limit on what you can track and do. It's gotten tons better since it came out a few years ago. So challenge yourself to learn a few bird songs. Listen to Merlin. You've seen them. You're watching that, doing it. I love the ones who sing their names for me. Chickadee-dee-dee. Oh, got that one. Phoebe. Phoebe. I can't do bird calls like some people can. Killdeer, 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 flying down the bayou. Yep, those are my great ones that I love. And then there's those birds that just don't say a whole lot. For those who can't read the back, that's mute swans. That's our invasive swan in Michigan. The ones with the black bills, the tundra, and the trumpeters are the ones that are native to Michigan. These have, I got that one kayaking down the river last summer. So that photo. Curtis talks about people say, I can't learn bird songs. And if you think about it, I bet my husband recognizes my voice right now. I bet my friends sitting here, those who know me, recognize my voice even if they couldn't see my face. It's a matter of you listening and paying attention and picking a couple to start with. I didn't know them all at the beginning. I know a lot more now, but I don't know as many as the people I go birding with, because I try to go birding with people who know more than I do, as I said earlier. So pick a couple, try to learn some new friends who are birds, and use Merlin to help you do that. There's other resources as well. Okay, so the other one that I used a lot as a beginning birder, and I still use it when I see something that I just can't pinpoint, is the step-by-step ID, and that's the left button on the Merlin app. So this one, you answer a series of questions. Where did you see the bird? And you can do your current location, you can pick where you've been recently, and then it will ask you, when did you see the bird? And usually I'm doing it right then, so it's today, and I say next. And what size was the bird? And then you pick between those different ranges of sizes. And if you don't know for sure, you guess, and you can always go back and change your answers and run it again. And then you get to pick up to 3 colors, 1 to 3 colors that it was. So on this one, I just chose black, gray, and white across the top, and then you click on next, and it asks you some behavior. You get to choose one. Was it eating at a feeder, swimming or wading, on the ground, in trees or bushes, on a fence or wire, or soaring or flying? And so I picked eating at a feeder, and up comes my results. They used to be little tiny icons. They've made it bigger picture. So this list will scroll down. It starts with a white-breasted nuthatch. It goes to a dark-eyed junco, and then it scrolled down. There was a black-capped chickadee. There was a downy woodpecker. There were, other, even though that was bigger than the range of bird I had selected. So you can go back and tweak those and try again, but it helps you go, that's what I saw. So that's what's in my backyard, and that's what's coming to my feeder. You can put in just those colors, and it was sitting in a feeder, and try to get it. It's really helpful for narrowing down what you might be seeing. Then you can go look them up in your guidebook. Now I'm switching to the eBird app. It looks like this if you download it to your phone. There's a difference between the app and the website, and I'll get to the website in a minute, but this is purely the app to use in the field. And any of this is like people are glazing over because now you've listened to 45 minutes of stuff. There's also a tutorial for this. It's listed on your resource paper, so you can go in and take a little, I don't know if it's 15 minutes, what it is, but there's a tutorial on how to use eBird. It's really awesome. There's lots of, and there's also one for Merlin. So you get this screen, and presumably if you're listing it for yesterday or something, then you have to change some date and time, but otherwise you're gonna start your checklist list. It records a track. That's really helpful if you get lost in the woods and you need to find out. You can retrace your steps by following the little track, or at least see where you're at, because you get a little GPS, like street view of where you're at. Not street view, but topographic, whatever. I'm not talking maps tonight. So you start the checklist and you get something that looks like this. I have already filled in where I was at or pretending to be last night. And then it brings up, and this will scroll down and scroll down and scroll down by species and give you an opportunity to list what you've seen. It starts out with the things that are most likely for the time of the part of the year and that you're going to see at this time. That gets tweaked all the time. We have a local eBird person named Caleb Putnam. He goes through and they change the filters on these and they add things that as the warblers come through, they add them to the common list. They take other things off that aren't common based on, and that may all be automated now, but these filters are set to turn off and on based on how things happen or what birds show up. But you go through and you can list what you've seen. I would encourage you to try to put a number in there and not an X. Some people, they're not comfortable counting birds, especially when you're looking at all those weird winter ducks and you're faced with thousands of ducks in a pond. I hate birding that. I hate doing a checklist that. But it's more important for them to know, if you list that there are 200 birds and there really were 300 or 500 birds, it's better for them to know that than to have an X there, because an X could be 1. And so they get at least a sense of the ratios to things. So, but you list this, and then when you're done, you review it, and it goes into your eBird account, which then you can look at on the computer. You can also obviously go to a browser on your phone, but it's much easier to look at on a bigger screen, at least for me. And that will keep track of the birds that you have seen, and you'll have an automated list. We'll get to lists yet, my favorite part. So under websites on your list is eBird. I could go on, we could have a whole session on eBird. So I'm just showing you the bare checklist on the phone, and take the tutorial if you want to use that in the field. Or go birding with somebody who does the checklist and say, hey, can I give you my eBird handle? This is also from Cornell. And it's called All About Birds. It's the website contents are free except for some courses that they offer that you can pay for. Some of the courses are free. And you can put in any species and it will bring you more information than what you ever thought. This is the northern shoveler that I mentioned, one of the weird ducks I love these guys. They're beautiful, and they have this big, wide bill to scoop and filter stuff out of the water to eat. So lots to do up here, including courses you could take, education. There's a whole thing for teachers to use with students with birds as well. And I even under the learning stuff, there are games for youth. So if you have a teenager who's interested, or a young adult, or you like to game, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do there as well. Speaking of gaming, if you're interested in birds, you haven't played Wingspan yet, there's some of us who are completely addicted to it. It's a fabulous board game or online game. eBird, here's the website. So when you log into the website, there's more. I just put at the top part of the page. My stats come up right here. So I currently have 657 birds since I started keeping a list in 2019. Half of them I have photos of. I've done 2,200 complete checklists. That means I tried to count every bird that I saw. 3150. So one time when I drove to North Carolina and I listed a turkey vulture in every county I passed through, I marked it. I have the great turkey vulture map that I'm sure Eber just loved. But I got a kid, and I had this whole trail of where I'd seen turkey vulture, and I filled in every county on the map. That'll make sense later when I show you. Did I mention this is an obsession? Anyway, so those weren't complete checklists. I'm like, oh, turkey vulture. Oh, yeah, add a crow. And I need to up my audio game. I haven't done a lot of audio. I've taken a lot of audio to listen to birds with the Merlin app, but I haven't uploaded a lot of it. So up at the top, you can submit a checklist, but you also do that on your phone. I showed you on the app. You can explore, and that'll let you look at species. It'll let you look at local hotspots, at regions like Ottawa County, and then other extra features there. Your My Bird section, My eBird, gives you all the data you want about your own birding if you use it to enter your checklist. So we'll look at that, some of that in a second. Flock together. Find somebody to go hiking with you to see birds. Find somebody who likes birding and go with them, and you'll just absorb information like a sponge. And don't be shy. If you're out walking by yourself and you see one of us crazy people with our binoculars, our scopes, our big camera lenses, then don't be shy. Come up and say, hey, I'm a new birder. What are you seeing? When we were in Madeira Canyon and I knew nothing about how to be a birder, Rich, my husband, is this amazing spotter. He sees the movements. He has better vision than me. And he's pointing stuff out, and I'm trying to get my eyes on it. And this woman walks up to us and says, what are you seeing? I said, I have no idea. My brand new binoculars on. I have no idea. So I said, it's right there. She looks at it, tells me, oh, that's a Townsend's warbler, or what Townsend solitaire. I'm like, cool. That's a painted redstart. Awesome. I'm writing as fast as I can on my little list. And she says, can I borrow your man for a little bit? And just like that. I said, you can have him. And you tell me what he's pointing out. I wouldn't have given it to you permanently. So, and then go on an Ottawa County Parks trip or one of the Muskegon County Nature Club. The members are here. They do a monthly walk. If you go to the website for Ottawa County Parks Birding, I've given you the link for that. You'll see a birding calendar. Wednesday mornings, tomorrow morning, we're going to be at Grand River Park. Wear your high boots because I was there a couple of days ago and it is wet. I don't know if they'll actually want to walk there, not in Curtis season, but 8 to 10 a.m. Birders like to get up early to see the birds. But they run in the spring and then in the fall on Wednesdays, but they're adding nighttime ones and weekend ones. So go hiking with somebody else. And then lists, so many lists. Okay. How many of you have a life list here in this room? Raise your hand. Okay. Seal.
I've got a
Your
question
list.
about lists.
Yes.
Okay, so if I start getting serious about lists, I've been marking birds and places, in a bird book where I've seen them, and
Yeah.
that's been going on for 50 years. So, what are the ethics of it when I come up and start, saying, can I go back 50 years for birds?
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
something.
The question is, can I go back in time and list stuff? And I'm going to tell a funny story about that. But yes, you can. You can go back and list historically if you don't know the date that you saw it, but you know that you saw it. You can list it as I think it's January 1, 1900 or something. In eBird in the tutorial, they tell you there's a date that you use for the historical that you don't know the date. I went back through every vacation trip photo folder that I had taken photos of where I knew I'd seen some birds, and I listed them because I had the digital timestamp on the ones that were in the recent years, and I knew what day and time and place that I'd seen them, and I went back and listed those on my life list because I knew I'd seen it and I'd identified it. I didn't go back and list all the things like a bluebird and whatever that I'd seen in my childhood yard because I figured I would see it. But if I knew I might not see it again, I went back and got the data and put it up. So yeah, you can go back. Your list, a state list. I just got 3 new birds for my state list. County list. Some of it, Carl showed me being in first place. I'm now in 10th place, but I've been I've been traveling. I've been working on this and some others. So got to get back out there and get a little higher up. But 10 is I'm fine with top 10. A yard list. I have 132 birds in my yard that I have seen since I started keeping track in 2019. If you had asked me in 2019 how many birds visited my yard, I'd have said, 20. I wouldn't have had any idea we had that many birds. Now, some of them don't stick around. I hear them for a day or two, and then they're a warbler. They move on somewhere else, but it's amazing what is in our backyards that we don't know. And then a big day list coming up in May. Curtis is doing a trip for big day to see as many birds as we can see in a day. We start at 7 a.m. out and we go running all day long. We eat a sandwich while we're traveling, and we bird until 4 o'clock on his, and some of us continue on and go later in the day. The first year I was birding, I got 99 birds, I think, in the first year. And Judy Manning said, "That's nice. There's more out there. Go get them." And now in May, I can go out on a big day trip with Curtis and other people and get over 100 in a day. So I've learned a lot, and I've also learned what I don't know. So here's my Michigan list. I've gotten 3 new Michigan state birds in this month alone, which was awesome. 2 of them were in Ottawa County, including this little cute little Lecoq sparrow. That's my photo, but there are some incredible photos that people got of this little guy who doesn't come here very often. He's a rare sighting. And the black-necked stilt, and then I went up to Gladwin and got the American goshawk that was on nest. So, birding ethics. I've got 5 minutes left, and I need to not miss birding ethics because this is important. So bird listing is fabulous. I love having all my lists. I love competing with Curtis to see if I can beat him on the county list each year. But the birds are first. Birds come first. Avoid stressing the birds. And that can happen a number of ways. Photography. I love taking a photo of a bird, but not if it's going to impact the bird. The snowy owls, when they arrive, they have traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles, and they're tired. And they're big birds, and they're threatened. And, people coming close to try to get a photo of them is not a good idea. There's callback where people use sounds of birds to attract a bird, and particularly during breeding season, you can make a bird leave the area because they will think there's another male in the area competing for their territory when there's not. And it stresses them also. And giving nests a wide berth. That American goshawk up north, we didn't go anywhere near it. We could see the nest through the trees, and with a scope, I could see the head sticking up out of the nest, and that's all I got. But it was a life bird for me, not just a Michigan bird. And we were on our way up north, so I was going that way, sort of, anyway. But a woman a week before had been pulled out in an ambulance because the goshawk had attacked her. And another guy had gotten all scratched up and whatever. The guy who showed us where the nest was a local who walks the trail all the time. And we watched him. He picked up several dead pine branches, duct taped them together, and he carried them like an umbrella down the trail as his personal protection because those hawks nest there every year. And he just goes out to do his daily walk, but they attacked him inside a pine tree he was trying to hide it. So you don't want to go near a nest. You don't want to be a photographer and go up and say, "Oh, let me see you, pretty birds," because it's not good for the bird or potentially for you. Now this, I'm showing you a nest. I took this photo in Costa Rica, and it is a nesting box. Scarlet macaws were very threatened, maybe still are, but we stayed at a place, an Airbnb, and it was had a golf course on the property. And every hole on the golf course had nest boxes for these macaws. They were everywhere. They were used to people walking past them all the time. We were out early in the morning before golfing started. They give you permission to be out there. And so we saw them all up and down. I would not have gone near a macaw nest in the wild, but that was and I had a long lens on and wasn't near the nest box anyway. So give birds and nests a wide berth. It's great to get a photo or add them to your list, but consider the bird first always. this is one of the vacation photos. I knew when I got back, I'm like, we went to Costa Rica, where my husband's family is from, and or Croatia, and we were dining outside on the Adriatic, and there was a bird, this huge gull behind me, and so I always took pictures of birds and reptiles and whatever I saw on vacation. So I turned around and took this picture of this guy who was looking hungrily at my plate of fish, and got a picture of him. So I went and dug that up, and then I had to ID him because I had no idea what he was. But he is a yellow-legged gull. He looks a lot like a herring gull with the red on the bill, but look at that red around the eye. Oh, he's just stunning. He's huge too, much larger than a herring gull. So if you use eBird to list all your birds, you can get data. So here's my one species. I clicked on that earlier so I could get the screenshot of, because you can't even see it otherwise. So when you're looking at the screen, I have to like hover over it. I've not been to Alaska, but you'll see that in a minute. I've got,
Attention library,
a few places there, been to a couple countries, and just was in Mexico. You can then dial into the United States. I obviously have some work to do up north, but those are all states I've birded in, and they give you the range to show you which ones you got the most birds in. So obviously Michigan, Texas, Arizona, North Carolina have highlights. And then you can dial into counties in the United States. So I've finished the UP. I've gotten at least one bird in every county, more than that, but a lot. And then I've got to do the east side of the state, so that's on the list for future camping. And then this was my story I put in the blurb. This is from Costa Rica last year. Mary Ackerson and her husband were there with Rich and I, and we stopped at a gas station to get gas. And we're getting out of the car, and the guy said, "Cindy, there's a bird over there." And I turned around, and he was picking a berry, and then he was looking straight forward to the berry's mouth, and then he made that turn. I got those 3 shots, and the 4th shot, he was flying off. I just had his tail. Like, I had 10 seconds to get these shots, and this is probably the best bird picture I've ever taken, or at least one of my favorites. So, at a gas station in Costa Rica, or across the street from a gas station. And you never know where birding will take you. While we were in Costa Rica, the place we were staying at the very end of our trip down in the south in San Vito, who shows up but David Sibley. He was having dinner there. His father was staying down there, and he came down to visit his father, and so he was at the dinner where we were at, and I got to schmooze a photo with him.
You're like starstruck.
I might have had a gin and tonic. And then I hope some of you catch the birding bug. So that was also from that trip last year. So thank you very much.